She said I was bored. I whined at my beer. I know the expression was crying in my beer, but I wasn't crying. I saw no reason to cry. I felt bad, no doubt, but it wasn't like I should mourn anything. A guy has no need to mourn a woman leaving him. Why cry when you can just replace her? Every day I hear women complaining about the lack of good men. Funny how often I've heard all the good ones are either taken or gay. Meanwhile, my guy friends are lamenting the lack of women who can stick to their promises. A lot of guys around have been burned badly in divorces. Something is wrong there. I guess folks just don't see how good they really have it. It is wonderful to spend years with a partner and get to know every little like and every little quirk about your lover. No, I didn't lament her wanting something else or even someone else. I lamented her calling me boring. I think she made me bored just to dump me for it. That's misleading. She hasn't quite dumped me. She just told me she was going to date someone else because I was bored. When I was younger, I loved adventure. I kayaked with my friends around the islands off the coast and in white water streams up in the mountains. Once I bypassed the island day trips in favor of a nice long paddle to Long Island 12 miles away. All I heard about was how it was too far to do safely. Funny, I did it several times without a problem. I like to go over, camp on the beach of a state park, then paddle back the next day. This was not the behavior of a husband and father in Karen's eyes. My family depended on me, and I shouldn't take needless risks. Gone too were backcountry skiing, my motorcycle, my little Triumph Spitfire, scuba diving, mountain biking, and rock climbing. So being the good dad that I was, I started skiing carefully groomed slopes, not too steep, mind you. I put my dirt bike and Triumph into storage, traded my soft tail mountain bike in for a road bike, and joined a gym with a climbing wall. I drove a minivan. Yeah, a minivan, with faux wood grain siding. Yeah, I know, but I loved her, so screw you. After she tamed my recreation, next came the demands on my job. She didn't like my traveling. Most trips were for a day or two to negotiate deals. Occasionally, I had to travel to London or Hong Kong or you name it. I was good at swinging deals that either yielded a solid acquisition or a lucrative sale for my company. She hated the international trips as they often lasted a couple of weeks. They always came with a nice bonus attached, so they were really good for our financial situation, but she hated me being gone. When I was made a partner, overnight travel decreased dramatically. I could fly into most domestic destinations, close the deal, and get home on the red-eye. However, it took years for me to shave down the international trips. It was a catch-22. Travel a lot, make a lot of money, become a senior partner, train and manage negotiating teams to close deals for you. Pass on the travel, let someone else take the trips and bring home the booty, watch them pass you on the corporate ladder. No one was going to pass me for any reason. I played it smart. I managed to combine reasons to travel, so one trip could result in multiple kudos for my chase for partnership. I was the first in my company to embrace teleconferencing for doing the legwork. I was careful to charter small jets for my teams so we could maximize our time on the ground. It cost me some good chunks out of my bonuses, but it was worth it in the long run. I climbed that ladder, Karen was happier, and everybody was safe. But damn it, I was bored. I gave everything up to conform to her priorities, and I'm bored. WTF. So screw her, I thought. Let her go find whatever excitement she's looking for. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to the me I liked so much way back when I had fun doing my thing. The me that defied gravity flying off a muddy slope in a weekend of motocross. The me that hopped on a helicopter to find fresh powder on a backcountry slope that took all day to ski down. I went back to that same slope in the summer and climbed back up. She expected me to stay home and wait for her. Remember that safety thing? Well, I was supposed to be on call to come help her if she got in trouble on her date. Seriously, 25 years of marriage, following 4 years of friendship and dating in school, and all that time I thought she was smart. Well, she wasn't. I didn't agree to this shit. I wasn't going to be home for her, either on call or waiting up when she came home. Talk about boring. All bets were off. All vows were off. Along with forsaking all others went love, honor, cherish, and obey. Well, she refused that last one, and now I know why. Boring wouldn't matter if obey was in the mix. So I came home from work, changed into jeans and a sports shirt while she was showering, and was digging out my old boots when she came out of the shower. She always liked me in boots. Riding boots, hiking boots, western boots, dress boots, it didn't matter. but they all went out the window when I transfigured into Save Me. I should say boring me after all I've now been redefined. I knew I looked good in the boots though. They fit as well as ever. Everything did. I had gained weight in those 25 years, but it was all upper body muscle. So I knew those boots looked even better now that I had shoulders and a man's chest. A dab of aftershave and a great sport coat, and there was no doubt I wasn't waiting up for her. She wasn't pleased. "What are you doing tonight?" "Nothing. Dress like that." "Who said boring people couldn't have class?" I was out the door before she could answer and on the way to my weekend. The minivan started right up, and its big 4-cylinder engine roared to life. Maybe it purred to life. All right, I can't fool you. The minivan sputtered and knocked its way into action. To its credit, it had sputtered up the driveway and turned towards town before Karen could get something on, and I smirked as I saw her pop out of the front door in her robe. It wasn't long before my cell phone rang and I let it go to voicemail. I had prepared a new message just for the occasion. "Hi, this is Dale. I'm unable to answer the phone tonight because I'm either busy driving or bored. If you need excitement, call my wife Karen at 555-4269. She'll be happy to talk about me. Otherwise, leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But don't be surprised if that isn't real soon. Maybe Monday. Ciao. First stop, get rid of this piece of crap van." I was sick of driving something with faux wood siding. I needed something rugged yet elegant. I'd settle for something with real wood siding, even like an old Willis wagon. It'd look really good with a surfboard on top, right? I couldn't find the right combination, or an old Willis Woody. I like riding that now that I'm free from that old boring-making, spirit-killing ball and chain. Oh, that felt good to say. So nothing that felt both elegant and rigged used to mean give up. Boring me would have stashed the checkbook from the money market account we used to save and gone home. No ducking way. I was going home. I bought one of each. I bought a rugged car and an elegant car. The Mercedes dealer was happy to set me up with a spiffy convertible. Trace Elegant MES. Amos. Nothing is more elegant than a guy who drives a Mercedes convertible and knows how to say very elegant things to my friends in French. I know I miss the accents, but I don't care. I'm no longer boring and looking them up would have been. Wait for it. You know it's coming. Boring. The dealer also had a great big-ass Jeep in his used car inventory, complete with mean-ass lifters, fat-ass knobby tires, bright-ass fog lights, and an awesome loud-ass train horn in addition to a dozen other aftermarket improvements. I drove off in the Jeep with a convertible being delivered to my home and locked up in the driveway Sunday morning. Boring, she said. I was never bored. The me she created was a terrible drag. That was history repressed back onto his hole while I went out looking for my first dose of adrenaline. I bought a trailer and drove home. Not to the home I shared with my wife, back to Mom's house. Hadn't seen Mom in a couple of months. It was time. The 3-hour drive was great as I got reacquainted with driving something with some testosterone under the hood. Mom was thrilled and had my favorite lasagna waiting. She didn't ask why I was there or why Karen didn't come too, but she knew something was wrong. She always could read me. The next morning, I went out to the shed and took out my old Spitfire. I had stored it there all these years. My brother had driven it every so often for me to keep it roadworthy. I wasn't so lucky with a dirt bike, but I didn't need to start it to load it on the trailer. By lunchtime, I had the bike and the car on my trailer rig and a smile on Mom's face. "So are you going to tell me about it?" I smiled too. "About what, Mom? 25 years of living your life Karen's way. You raised 3 kids while burying my son in minivans and bunny slopes. Suddenly, you come to visit without your wife, driving a beast of a truck, wanting your sports car and your motorcycle, and wearing those fine-looking boots. Like I said, Mom could read me like a book. I explained Karen's recent battle with insanity. Maybe that girl may be crazy, but you should thank her. Honey, she set you free." Mom was right. Mom was always right. That evening, I turned my phone back on. Karen and the kids had been calling and texting all day. I put the kids into a text group and responded, "Me, I'm fine. I'm at Grandma's. Your mom and I aren't seeing eye to eye about something, and I decided I needed to think, so I went to visit. Ollie, Dad, Mom are frantic. She says you disappeared, and she doesn't know why. Me, I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to say why. It's not my place to explain it to you. All I'll say is your mom decided I am boring, so I'm doing something about it. She can tell you what she is doing. Jenny Daddy, that isn't like Mommy. She always plays things safe. She would never do something to threaten you or our family. You should get home and make things right. Me, thanks, dear, for your faith in me. Before you crucify me for this little episode, why don't you get the truth out of your mom? Daniel, Dad, we aren't blaming anyone. We just want you to know we love you both and just want the best. Me, thanks, son. Let me know when you've talked to your mother. I spent the night with Mom laughing at a cheesy old movie and was about to turn in when my text alert dinged. Jenny, I'm sorry, Daddy. I can't believe Mommy went out with another man. Me, I know, sweetie. Jenny, what are you going to do? Me, I'm going to live my life like always. I'm just not going to worry about your mom's rules for living, because if they really mattered, she would have followed the rules for marriage that we both agreed to. Not happening, kids. She set me free. I can live the way I want to. Daniel, hi, Dad. I get it. Kiss Grandma for me, and when I come home next weekend, I want to ride in the Spitfire. Me. Lol, yeah, you guys read me as well as your grandma. Ollie, you'd better believe it. And we expect a ski vacation for spring break. Someplace with a helicopter instead of a T-bar. What can I say? My kids knew the things I used to do and the things I really loved. They saw pictures of me skiing in muddy from motocross riding. Me, you bet. I'm thinking of Banff. Get yourselves in shape. Backcountry trails are fun, but they are hard work. Boring, she said. Sunday morning saw Mom and I at our favorite bagel shop. I stuck around and helped her with some chores around the house. My phone dinged a text at lunch and I laughed at the raging text from Karen. They had delivered my Mercedes. They had locked the keys inside since I had the spares. All she could do was look at it, and it blocked her car in the garage. I'd have to send the delivery team an extra tip for that. I went home. Karen's car was there. I backed the Jeep down my driveway, parked it, and hopped in my new Mercedes and motored off, again chuckling as Karen ran out and tried to flag me down. Now she could look at my new Jeep with its trailer load of her dual nemesis, my Spitfire and my Kawasaki. Food for thought. At least her side of the garage was clear and she could get out. Maybe she'd leave, right? Too easy. Boring, she said. I didn't go back home. I hit a mall to buy enough clothing for a couple of days, then checked into the Hyatt near my office. I took the penthouse suite. I didn't earn all those bonuses over the years for nothing. I slept quite soundly. The next day, I went to work as usual and told my team I would be on the next trip, a junket to Hong Kong that involved 160 acres of prime industrial property. Negotiations had stalled, and this seemed to be as good a time as any for me to go flex some boss man muscle. My team was thrilled. They had assembled 3 other possible acquisitions to look at while they were there. Why wait? I asked them when they showed me their preliminary studies on the sites. We go to look, but be prepared to buy. Alert our counsel over there, we are coming in guns hot, and they need to be ready to crank out some serious paperwork. Pack for at least a month, people. If you can't do that, make plans to tag team with members of Ian's group. Feel free to fly your families over to see you at least once while you're gone. I don't want any divorces over this push. As a matter of fact, I'll spring for hotel, airfare, and expenses for them to go along for the entire time if you choose. I'll even spring for some sightseeing. I want you to be happy, hungry, and effective. A month, boss, maybe more. I plan to visit Sydney with that hotel group in Buenos Aires before we come back. I'm sending Ian to Seoul and Mumbai while we are in Hong Kong. We have a unique opportunity to make some serious money here. Nice to see you back. Boss Carter Douglas, my heir apparent as a hot shit negotiator, grinned at me. I grinned back and grabbed my favorite numbers fanatic by the elbow. Kim, a word with you, please. I ushered her into my office, instructed my secretary to hold my calls, especially from my wife. She nodded, and I closed the door behind Kim and I. Here is your big chance, Kim. We are going to be working fast and with no margin of error. Most of what we buy, we will be reselling right after we arrive home, and each purchase or sale has to happen without a hitch and in time. Some of our acquisitions are trash, but will be attractive to sellers who have things we want, so we will unload some to get others. We will also be making some stops to open new markets for some of our product lines. Those will not be deals that will benefit us short term, but will yield long-term profits that will open the eyes of the other partners, the people who will move you up from that junior associate position to something much more lucrative. This is your big moment, so I want you near at hand 24/7 and ready to support any argument or claim I make before and make it 24/7. Does that mean I smiled? Karen, dating other guys. Does this mean I get to sleep my way to a partnership? No. One woman betraying me at a time is one too many. You'll have to work your way up like anyone else. You know you want to have me? It was true. She was a walking wet dream, lean and lithe with legs that curved only where they should beneath that luscious bum. And those plunging necklines were a constant reminder of how creamy and soft her delicious mangoes looked. Indeed, but you work for me, so no, not gonna happen. But you are going to be right at hand and at my business-related beck and call on this trip. You'll pick me up in a limo Friday morning. Dress as sexy as you can. Even if I'm not, I want my wife worried that I am sleeping with you. When you arrive, come to my door to get me. When you order the limo, ask for Jen to drive and tell her I need her to wear the uniform with the short shorts. I want my wife to be jealous as hell when I leave. My team was motivated. My wife was frantic to see me. My kids were furious with my wife. Kim was horny, not for me, but to get a promotion. Well, maybe for me too, but I had drawn that line in the sand. I went to the airport to hire a plane. I thought maybe I'd jump out of one. Don't be silly, I wasn't going to kill myself. If I was going to go back to the thrill seeker I had been in my youth, I had to get off my bum and grab a dose of adrenaline. It was awesome. I rented the cameras for me and my jump partner too to document the stunt. I posted it on Facebook and enjoyed an awesome night's sleep. The next day my phone was filled with missed calls and texts from the kids. Karen raged. The kids raved. Notice served. The real me was back. Boring, she said. I really didn't want to see Karen, so I slipped home while she was at work and packed my stuff. I headed to the airport and caught a late flight to Chicago. There was no pressing reason to go, but I did have some prospects on the back burner that might prove useful. It turned out to be a profitable couple of days and kept me out of Karen's reach until the big trip. I got in very late Thursday night and the house was dark. She finally came home at 2 a.m. and didn't even know I was there. Fortunately, she was alone. I would have had to confront her about bringing her toy boys into my home, but this way I didn't have to see her until I was ready. I was charged for it too. I was up early and had my refreshed luggage packed and by the door. I made myself a manly breakfast of steak and eggs and had ZZ Top on the stereo in the kitchen. I was in a perfect fitting pair of gabardine casual slacks with a new stylish sports shirt togs Karen had not seen before. Dressy Comfort seemed perfect for the 18-hour trek to Asia, and I made Dressy Comfort look good. Karen made her way down the staircase, drawn by the smell of my coffee. I make great coffee. Hers sucked. Oh my God, Dale, you're home. Honey, why didn't you answer my calls? I have been worried sick. Yeah, the kids told me you were worried. No need. I'm fine. I'm just doing as I please. Oh, no, you don't, mister. I get a better explanation than that. It's a perfect explanation. Last week you told me you were going to do as you please, and I couldn't stop you. So I figured if wifey dear is going to do as she pleases, I might as well do the same. If it's the new us, I can live with it. I never said you could do just anything you wanted. I said I was going to. Go out with other men. Okay, I get it. But I didn't want that. So it follows if you can make a choice that big in spite of my wishes, there is no reason for me to consult you on mine. There certainly is a reason. You have a family to be responsible for. A husband and father has no reason running around on a motorcycle or racing little sports cars. I thought we settled that years ago. We did. But we have also grown older and our situation has changed. Karen and I gave up all those things for you and the kids. I drove a minivan crying out loud. I skied bunny slopes with the family. I hadn't jumped out of an airplane for years until this week. You said I was bored. Shit, that's because I was bored. Now the kids are gone. They have huge college funds to finish school. And here's a big surprise neither you or they know about. They each have a trust fund that matures when they graduate college. They have enough money to go to grad school and put a down payment on a nice house wherever they live. Face it, the kids will be fine no matter what happens to me. Or you. So if the chute doesn't open and I die doing something awesome, I'll die with a smile on my face and they'll be fine. And me. You know I have a stake in your future too. You have a wife. Karen, I hate to break it to you, but no, I don't think I do. What? Now just hold on, Dale. That's a pretty big leap. We just started exploring this whole thing, and you already think I don't think anything. I know. I know I don't matter that much to you anymore. If I did, you never would have given me that ultimatum. You think I'm boring. Okay, that's easy to give up. I've got some fun to have. I gave up a lot in the name of being a family man, but the family man isn't exciting enough to keep his wife from resting her head on someone else's pillow. The doorbell rang just in time to save me from another salvo in this ridiculous discourse. Jen stepped in with Kim right behind her. The two brought in 4 of the finest legs you've ever seen. Did I mention how good I looked in gabardine? I looked even better with a tendon in my gabardine. Jen greeted me with a hug and a kiss and moved to start shuttling my 4 suitcases to the limo. Kim handed me a dossier and started rattling off numbers of where we were in our negotiations. She rattled off of the project names and locations which had Karen's attention completely. Hong Kong? Sydney? Buenos Aires. How long are you going to be gone? A couple of months, I expect. Plenty of time for you to explore before you are too old. Do me a favor, though. Don't let them into the house. Karen launched a series of pleas that would have made a public TV telethon proud. She had reason after reason I needed to stay, and that we needed to talk about how our relationship had evolved and where we were going. I stopped her there. Honey, wrong tense. Our relationship isn't going, it's gone. And right now, so am I. See you in a few weeks. I didn't hear a word of her gibberish as we walked out to the car, but I did manage to crack a smile at what she said when she noticed my Jeep, my Spitfire, and my convertible parked in front of the garage doors. All 3 garage doors, including the door her car lurked behind. Of course, what she said was too foul for me to write. Even here, Hong Kong was fantastic. Kim was in the suite beside me, so she was right there 24/7, but only in a good business-like way as we both had agreed. She was hot on the numbers, and we managed to close all the deals expected and set up others for follow-up teams to come back and close in a month. We were also quite successful in Australia and wound up with an agreement in principle to acquire the entire hotel group. Again, a closing team would have to return in a month. We scouted additional acquisitions and went forward to Argentina. Again, I was able to reach agreement with a motivated seller, and the team was able to put other projects on our corporate radar. All this time, I remained chaste and true to my marriage vows, hoping upon hope to return home to find a desperate to reconcile Karen. Yeah, bullshit. Karen may have gone a bit insane, but I still loved the crazy woman. I really wasn't ready to throw her back, so I took her ultimatum as a declaration of an open marriage. There we stay married, but screw anyone we want. No problems. Carrie Moore was an old friend in college who had become a professional buyer for rich tourists in Hong Kong. She spent a day taking my team around town, shopping the famous markets. She sent me to a fine tailor before our 12 days in town were up. I left for Sydney with several new suits I had made to order, and we spent the night screwing each other senseless. It was just what I needed, a woman I trusted, a classy hotel suite in an exotic city, and unbridled lust. I felt guilty for about 10 minutes, which was how long it took me to remember Karen wrote the rule book I was now using. Boring, she said. I realized I had not ever been bored. I had, however, been bored. Carrie was not boring, and from the way her body quivered and shook when she climaxed, I could tell she wasn't bored with me. When we broke camp in Hong Kong and moved to Sydney, we hired a tour guide named Sydney. I enjoyed the sheer delight of touring the beautiful city during the day and the willowy brown-haired beauty by night. I'm not being redundant when I say I enjoy being in Sydney. Rio was an equally target-rich business environment. We didn't do quite as well as our forays into Asia or Australia, but we managed to justify another month abroad. And speaking of abroad, I met a hot Latin divorcee that taught me a thing or two about tango, both upright and horizontally in bed. As we wrapped up our deals, I sent my team back one by one on commercial flights, first class. I took a leased jet a couple of days later, where the flight attendants initiated me to the Mile High Club while simultaneously introducing me to the etiquette of the threesome. I had a great trip, but I wasn't done yet. Boring. Yeah, well, you get the picture. Before going home, I took my Rio Tan body skiing in Canada. I met my kids at Banff before Christmas. Why not? They finished with finals a week before their mother expected them home for the holiday, so their skiing was awesome and involved steep drops on powdery slopes reachable only by helicopter. I spent my nights partying with my kids early and drilling the lights out of a voluptuous blonde housewife who I met the first night in the bar. When she told me her tale of woe of being traded in for a younger model by her husband and not knowing which way to turn, I hired her. I gave her a generous housing allowance and offered to pay her move-in expenses to become my newest personal assistant. Of course, that wasn't until our third night sleeping together. Every night she had screamed her climax in different languages, and when she went Russian in her sixth language in 3 nights, I decided that her translation skills would be a valuable asset to our growing international interests. Of course, hiring her meant no more sleeping together. My business ethics were not thrown over when my cheating wife trashed our marriage ethics. Besides, the weekend bamf was almost over anyway. We flew home a couple of days before Christmas. The kids went home to see their mom. I checked into a hotel near work. I didn't plan on dealing with Karen and jet lag at the same time. I did manage to buy a condo as a Christmas present to myself and went to spend Christmas with my wife and kids. My cars were still parked there in front of the garage. There was a little Cooper convertible parked in front of my Spitfire. I was sure Karen was going to be pissed, but she wasn't. She greets me like nothing had happened. Maybe I wasn't boring to her anymore. I did Christmas. I enjoyed her feast. I helped with dishes and took the obligatory garbage out to the garage. I pulled the Mercedes and the Spitfire into their base. Then I left in my Jeep. The phone rang. I had hoped we might both enjoy a Christmas truce. We did. You could stay a couple of days for the kids' sake. I did. I slept in the guest room. The day after Christmas, I took the cars one by one to be washed. Leaving them in the weather for 4 months may not have been the best move for the cars, even if it had been a daily reminder to Karen that things had changed. I parked the Spitfire in the garage, intending to garage both the Jeep and the Mercedes at the condo. The second day after Christmas, Karen resumed hostilities. Her boyfriend came over for lunch. She smiled smugly. I went upstairs and grabbed my bag and returned to full-scale war. The kids were furious with Karen, and she wasn't prepared for their fury. I guess she saw things going differently. It might have too, except it was Christmas. I stopped them to say goodbye, and they did. They said goodbye to Karen instead. We threw their bags in the Jeep and headed downtown. There was plenty to do in the city for New Year's, and we were going to have some fun. We did museums by day and clubs by night. Both kids had friends nearby, so all 3 of us got chances to hang together or break away. I also managed some alone time, which I didn't spend alone. By the time I went back to work, I had heard enough music, visited enough museums, eaten enough fine food, and drunk plenty of fine wine and whiskey to last a lifetime. I settled into a routine that wasn't routine. My assault on the Southern Hemisphere that fall had given me new stature in the company, but had also garnered the attention of our competitors. I was actively courted by other companies who were impressed by our sudden flex of muscle. I didn't hide the fact from my team. In fact, I told them if I left, I was taking them along. Of course, word of what was brewing spread to the senior partners. I was called to the boss office. Karen's grandfather had started this company, and her father had expanded the business into a diversified giant that included a variety of manufacturing concerns. I had been hired when I married Karen and began as a low-level analyst, which fit perfectly with my educational background. I was given nothing special and even signed a prenup to prevent me from ever laying claim to Karen's eventual inheritance of the company, which was still almost completely owned by her dad. I got along fine with Mr. Adams, but we were not exceptionally friendly. He preferred to stay personally detached from his employees, even his son-in-law. I originally found it odd, but as I rose through the ranks realized how it allowed him to avoid favoritism and adopted the same stance. Hence, I refused to sleep with Kim or even play golf with my associates. Business is business. So I wasn't surprised when Adams cut right to the chase. Business is business. It seems a lot has changed for you in the last few months. You've done quite well at work, but seem to have lost a battle or two with my daughter. Do I have to worry about you? I leaned back into the plushness of the little chair in front of his desk. I knew the psychology of a short chair in front of the desk and a tall chair behind. Towering over an opponent is a dominant position. I guess they never saw those movies where the downed swordsman thrusts upwards into the exposed soft underbelly of the dominant warrior as he winds up for the final lethal stroke. Yes, sir, you do. After 25 years with this firm, I'm still a lowly junior partner. I have brought in more business in the last 5 years than any other manager, and my Asian blitz this last year was unparalleled. My earned bonus was accordingly higher than any other employee, including your divisional presidents. Yet here I am, a junior partner. So I am thinking of taking the standard severance and moving on. Dale, I can't promote you like anyone else. You're my son-in-law. How would that look? I understand. Business is business. But that cuts both ways. Business is business for me means taking an offer that reflects my ability. I can be a full partner tomorrow at Woodford Unlimited or Mark Manufacturing. I would expect some loyalty from my son-in-law. Slick! Business is business when you're keeping me down, but when it benefits you, suddenly loyalty is important. While we're on the topic of family loyalty, I wonder if you'd be willing to chat about what you did to teach that lesson to your daughter. Because you failed. Dale, I'm sorry. That's another thing. Why are you Mr. Adams while I'm Dale? Business is business. I deserve the same degree of respect that you expect. Very well, Mr. Carter it is. Dr. Carter, remember, I defended my thesis for my PhD in economics last May. Very well, Dr. Carter it is. I'm aware of my daughter's actions and am not pleased. We have spoken, to put it mildly, and well, at the moment she is not speaking to me. My philosophy sucks. I broke in to finish his thought for him. Your philosophy on loyalty is totally out of sync with the rest of the world. Your business is just an easy way of dealing with a workforce that views you as a cold-hearted boss with the personality of a dead fish. Tell me, is it wise to keep your top producer down just because he is your son-in-law? I don't see much reason not to peddle my skills to another firm. Long story short, the arrogant son of a witch told me to go ahead and do my worst. I did. By close of business, everyone on my team, as well as Ian and his team, had tendered resignations. You never saw someone backpedal as fast in your life. Senior partnership for me with a significant raises for both of our teams, and the creation of a mergers and acquisitions division just for us. With my professional and financial future secured, I turned to my personal life. I rode my bike on wild trails and dirt tracks alike. I even raced motocross. I rode downhill on my mountain bike and got muddy. I looked good, muddy and tired, and played with a couple of biker chicks that thought it was hot. One was a Harley girl who liked my style on the motocross and thought I was pretty hot on the jumps for an old guy. Then she told me to give her a call when I got something bigger than my dirt bike between my legs. I told her what's between my legs was going to need more than 2 wheels. As I loaded my bike onto the rig behind my beast Jeep, she put the Harley on with my Kawasaki, and we spent the night discussing the merits of nimbleness or raw power in our crotch rockets. Yes, we compared the bikes between sweaty, sticky, moaning, groaning rocket maneuver events. I skied more than Banff. I skied Tuckerman's, and when the summer heat closed that venerable slope on MT up Washington. I found some excellent adrenaline cranking slopes and glaciers of the Pyrenees. It's funny seeing half-naked women basking in the sun at a high-altitude lodge right beside a snowy slope. It's even more fun watching them remove the rest of their clothing in your hotel room later on. I finished enough tandem jumps out of a perfectly good airplane to qualify to jump alone, so I did. The same instructor gave me enough hours in a sailplane to solo, so I did. She was so excited having a student center earn both solos in the same month, she let me duo with her. We jumped naked and drilled on the deserted beach where we landed. We couldn't figure a way to do it in the sailplane since the seating was back to front and the seats were in the way of Hanky and Panky, so we jumped back to the beach again. It was hot the first time, so why not an encore? I posted everything on Facebook, and my page was filled with comment activity from our friends and family, especially the kids who weren't speaking to their mom any more than I was. I wasn't at all. She tried to corner me, but you can't hit a moving target like you can a boring one. Boring me, huh? Kiss my boring bum. After every post, my phone rang. I didn't block her number, I just didn't answer. She tried to catch me at work, even using her father to request my presence so we could talk. He didn't try that again after I threatened to defect to Woodford's if he ever tried that again. He had to restrain her in order to allow me to leave without her molesting me. Some people's children. Then the full court press began. Aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, pets, and grocery boys all seemed to be in favor of giving her another chance. Everyone makes mistakes, you see, so I put them into my shoes. I told the women to take their clothes off and lie down right where they were, then spread their legs and get ready for me to rock their world. After all, if mistakes like that were so easy to make, so lightly considered, and so easily forgiven, I should be able to make a few of my own, and might as well start with someone who understood the process so well. I told the men to bring me their wives, girlfriends, mothers, or of age daughters for the same reason. They were a bit shocked, but saw my point. I'm sure some would never speak to me again. That's not a bad thing. Still, I was getting sick of the dime store advice, and it was bringing me down. So I left. I took my team back on the road. They were thrilled as they had a ball on our first rampage buying Asia and Argentina. This time we hit Brazil and Argentina. Then we went back to Hong Kong. We did so well we leased space and opened the first international office of the firm in Asia. Karen's dear daddy had nothing to object to, since we had made enough rain there to need a continued presence. So guess who was named as vice president for operations in the Southern Hemisphere? Yours truly. I installed Ian in Argentina and Kim in Australia, and our division's business took off. I never went home. Karen wanted to follow me, but the kids talked sense into her. I didn't want her, and somehow she accepted that. I sent the Spitfire back to Mom's along with the bike. I gave my son the Jeep and my daughter the Mercedes. I gave Karen a divorce and Carrie an engagement ring. Yup, I had no intention of spending the best times of my life alone. I wanted a good woman by my side. Besides, she loves to skydive. So I got it all. Adrenaline, a happy home, a new start, my integrity, and a shitload of money, 'cause damn, it's there to be made in my new part of the world. If Karen had just come to me and said, "I'm bored, let's find something new and exciting in our lives," I would have been thrilled. I was bored too. We could have skied together. It would have been a rush teaching her and taking her along. We could have traveled. We could have rafted rivers safely or ziplined through Cambodia with little risk and plenty of rush. I would have done anything for her until she threw me over for someone else. I couldn't stomach that I heard she is intensely unhappy with the dating scene. She finds the guys available lacking. She is jealous of the fact her dad loves the shit out of me for moving away from her because we are making his company obscene amounts of money. She regrets what she did, but knows she can't go back. Carrie makes sure of everything she gets in a helicopter with ski boots on, her straps on a parachute, but my ultimate adrenaline rush is going to bed with her every night. There isn't anything Carrie won't do in bed, and there isn't anything she hasn't enjoyed that I've done with her. I know because once we have done it, she wants it again. That never happened with Karen, even when we were young and things were good. But we have never spoken since that day her dad had to restrain her so I could leave and assault it. I'm sure she would like to talk, but she knows how little I want to do with her. One day, I suppose one of the kids will get married or have a grandchild that I will be eager to go meet. Karen will surely be there, and I will finally have to interact. But I'm not worried. When that time comes, my Carrie will be there by my side. No, she won't have to protect me. She'll be there to make sure I'm not too bored or bored.